Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I'm going to bring you 7 hidden gems with Inside Lightning Overdrive. Now these are cards that you may or may not have even considered, considering the set is so bogged down with the 2 chase cards. In my opinion, these are some of the cards that are a lot easier and cheaper to pick up. They've got potential to rise in value as the game progresses and as this set goes further into production. And they're also cards that can help get some of those dust off of those old school decks that you want to build up and try again. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe. If you enjoy this type of video, then by showing your appreciation and hitting that like button, it will mean that I'll be able to bring you more videos like this in the future to give you as much information about upcoming sets and of course set releases as possible so that you can start investing more into Yu-Gi-Oh! And of course get the most out of your product. With all of that out of the way, let's dive head first into the first of these 7 cards, and this one is actually a duo, and these duos actually help both Monarchs and of course True Dracos as well, and that is Proof of Perfilis and of course the Anachronophryte. So the reason that these are so good is both of them share the same effects, that they give you either an additional normal summon or they give you the ability to draw and summon. So, with the Pendulum Monster in the scale, if you have no cards in your extra deck, which of course Dracos and Monarchs won't have, you can destroy this card and draw 1 card. Then its monster effect is it can be special summoned from your extra deck face up by having no cards in your extra deck, which again, apart from the Amorphites, you shouldn't have in Dracos or of course Monarchs, and then this gives you a free monster on the board. The only downside of it is the whole idea that if you're playing Monarchs with Domain or Stormforth, you have to keep in mind that you can't special from your extra deck the turn on some of those effects, or you can't have cards in your extra deck. Now the Proof of Perfilis is if you control no special summon monsters, you can special summon this card from the hand, and also you cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only use this effect once per turn, and once per turn, if this card is normal or special, you can immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 monster. Now of course in Dracos and Monarchs, more so Dracos than Monarchs, you shouldn't really be special summoning monsters, so this is a nice free summon that is going to give you an additional tribute summon and go from there. Keeping in mind as well, you can special summon this card as well, meaning that you're not using up your additional normal summon or your original normal summon. Keeping in mind that straight away from the Draco spells and traps, you're going to get more times to summon. Now obviously it's a little bit more difficult in Monarchs because you do want to be special summoning from the Squires, but even if you don't and choose not to special from the Squires and you just go normal summon for the additional normal later on, you're good to go. So definitely these cards sitting as super as a TCG exclusives and sitting as a common are very easy to pick up. I don't see these massively rising in value, but something like Proof of Perfilis you can probably pick up for about 50p, and the chances are, because of the popularity of Dracos and of course Monarchs, you could see this card rise in value by about £1 or so, nothing too crazy, but it's definitely a card that apart from the tins in 2022, you may not see a reprint so early on, so it's definitely worth picking up a playset, if not a little bit more, just for those times when we go back into a control format for Dracos or of course Monarchs. Then moving on to the next one down the list. Now some of these are quite specific to depending on the deck that you are going to play, but we're going to go over one of probably I think the most undervalued secret. Like I thought this secret would be so expensive, but it's not. It's crazy cheap, and that is Amazing Time Ticket. Now not only was this a secret in a set which looks amazing, but it was of course the promo Ultra. Now the Ultras I was seeing for going about £8 and the secrets were going for about £10. Now to me, when a card says pay 800 life points to either set a trap directly from your deck and activate it that turn, or add an amazement card in general from your deck to the hand, this is a staple free of. And then move that into the fact that if amazements get more support later on down the line, if they become the new meta after the ban list drops or anything like that, this is the one card in my opinion that will rocket through the roof. Now obviously the Amazement Secret Monster and the Ultra Monster will be cards you want to be hunting for, but I think they're a little bit easier to get hold of. Considering the monster is about £22 as well, something like this that sits at around 8 to 10 and could possibly creep down a little bit more, has so much more room for improvement and value gain that even if you spend £10 on this, you're not losing a lot. Whereas if you spend £20 on the monster and then it becomes irrelevant, or later on they release a new monster that's going to do that job but a little bit better, and you can cut that down from playing 3 of it to 2 of it to maybe even 1 of it, its price will drop in value. Whereas with something like this that is so prominent straight away, it's a mandatory free of, in my opinion. A very nice looking secret, and when they're sitting about £10, I think if you get anyone offering you these at secret for like £7, snap them up. Like, hands down, grab them, go with them. Such a cool card. And yeah, it was one of the secrets I was kind of like, why is this so low? And then, of course, we look into the Black Wings. Now, of course, Black Wings got a... not Black Wings, sorry. Plunder Patrols. I got confused by the name there. It looks like a Black Wing card. So Plunder Patrol's got the brand new Black Eyes, the Plunder Patrol Seagull. Now, this is specific for plunders, but it just adds so much to it. It is a common, so it is very easy to pick up. And if you're a Plunder Patrol player, definitely worth picking up. I always advise picking up TCG exclusives. I still slightly advise picking up War Rocks. I just feel that once the OCG get them, which they've just had announced, we could see something that makes them a little bit more playable, but that's a long stretch. But if you see like War Rock Mountains, and you see like the new War Rock spell that negates a monster effect floating around at £2 to maybe 5s at a push, they're worth picking up in my opinion. But yeah, going back to the Plunder Patrol Sea Guide, this one's just so good for the deck because it gives them recursion from the graveyard. It also lets them special summon their monsters that are equipped to their ships, and it just allows you to maintain your resource a little bit more, special summon an additional monster, and just allows you to power play through the deck a lot more. Then keeping on with deck specific, we're going to be looking at the Tractrix. Now, the Tractrix Vescalo, in my opinion, is the better of the two. I think the Link 2 is very good, but when you're looking at something like Sarah, which is just so prominent in the deck and so easy to make, I think something like the Vescalo is a lot better. And the reason this also works really, really well is just coming off of one card, and as long as you've got a trap to send, coming off of your Mantis to search this out, you can then turn Mantis into Sarah, trigger the effect of this, and then Sarah will replace the trap you sent with the Vescalio. Not to mention that if you have another extender or level 4, this can go straight into Rafflesia. It's sitting at about £8, which is at the higher end of the Ultras right now. I think it could possibly go down a little bit in price, but again, something like this, which I think is so prominent to a Tractrix deck, you're going to be looking at, if you pick them up at 5, you're definitely going to be able to double your value very, very easier on down the line. And if you're a Tractrix player, it's definitely worth picking up. I made sure I got my playset of this card. I definitely think it's a very good card, and there's always going to be that fan following for Tractrix that this is a card that will not easy. Either it'll be a very, very easy trade later on down the line, or it's just going to be a card that will pick up at least double the value if you get it at the right price of around £5 or less. Then moving into the penultimate free cards. Now, these free cards, in my opinion, have a lot more utility rather than just in their particular decks. And I think that's what makes them a little bit better. They are all ultra rares, but they're all ultra rares that technically, apart from one of them, I was seeing people selling them for like £3 to £4, which I think is an absolute steal for these cards and near enough a must get. So we'll start off with Albion, the Branded Dragon. Now, this is obviously the new Fallen of Albaz fusion monster. Now, once Fallen of Albaz kind of completes his story, hopefully in the upcoming Dawn of Majesty set, when we get the Stigmaticas, or even a little bit further on when he starts to become his own deck, this is one of the first fusions that you're going to want to be going for. Now, it does require Fallen of Albaz plus a light monster, but keep in mind as well, in this set, they did get their very own fusion spell branded in white, which means you don't need to rely on your opponent having that particular monster. Now, the reason that Albion is so good, even if you wanted to make this as a super poly target, and what I mean by super poly target is you can use Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz can then fuse with himself on one of your opponent's monsters. So as long as your opponent's playing light monsters, this card is so easy to get out, it's unreal. And then once it's fusion summoned, you can fusion summon one level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except himself, by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard. So what I'm trying to say with that is, straight away you put Albaz in the graveyard, that's a dragon. It lets you special summon out a level 8 or lower dragon. Now, obviously, your opponent's going to have a light monster in the graveyard, but if you have a Dark Magician in your graveyard, that's a free Dragoon. So you get this guy and a Dragoon. Now, that's obviously a very specific scenario, but keep in mind that whatever you discard off of Albaz is going to be in the graveyard. So whether you're discarding the spells and traps to reset them during the end phase, or whether you're actually discarding the material to either make one of his other fusion forms, or just to be able to make any level 8 or lower fusion monster. So keep in mind as well, they're just level 8 or lower fusion monsters. So putting a dark in the graveyard, it doesn't even restrict you to having specifically summoning out dragons. But keep in mind that most of the powerful fusion monsters are dragons, and also keep in mind that Mysterion, the Dragon Crown, was of course in this set as well, and this requires a spellcaster plus a dragon monster. So again, another reason that if you were playing a spellcaster deck and you discarded that off of Albaz, you're good to go. Keep in mind that if you were to play pure Dogmaticas and you wanted to put Albaz in there as well, all of their monsters are going to be spellcasters, and if you're playing Nadir's Servant, you can send anything you want from your extra deck. Keep in mind as well that Dark Magician the Dragon Knight actually declares itself as being Dark Magician in the graveyard. I'm not too sure if that actually bypasses the effects to get into Dragoon, but if it does, great, you've got another reason to do it. And at a £4 card, it's definitely worth having 1 copy, if not 2 copies, to whether you're interested in the Albaz deck, or just as, like I said, a future Super Poly target, or even a future general decent fusion target. Then the penultimate card, this is probably my favourite card from the entire set. I would have loved to have seen this as a secret rare, but I think this kind of gives... The artwork is absolutely amazing, and then you couple that off with the effect itself. I think the effect is so good, and that's White Knight of Dogmatica. So this is the brand new fusion monster that came from Dogmaticas. It is specifically a level 8, and you can ritual summon it with Dogmatic Calamity, but obviously keep in mind you can special summon this with stuff like incantations and other ritual spells as well, as long as they meet the requirements that are required. You can't special summon monsters from the extra deck, so that's a very big drawback. But if you're playing Dogmaticas, or even if you're playing something like Necros, you don't really need to worry too much about the extra deck, because a card like the White Knight is going to give you so much more. It's crazy. So if your opponent activates a card or effect except during the damage step, you can send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. And if you do, look at your opponent's extra deck and send 1 monster from it to the graveyard. This card gains attack equal to half the combined attack of those monsters sent to the graveyard until the end of this turn. You can only use this event once per turn. Now, keep in mind, straight away, the one target that you're going to want to look to send from your deck could be any of the Albaz cards, because they'll trigger in the end phase to get you effects, or it can be an Elder Entity Inst. Now, by sending that, not only do you bypass the restriction of Dogmatica Punishment, not that it's a big issue because you can't special summon from the extra deck anyway, but what you're doing there is you're sending an Elder Entity Inst. You're then sending the target from your opponent's extra deck. Now, unless your opponent is playing multiples of the same card, if they're trying to build up to go into something, so if they're like making a build play to go into like a Link Karibo, or if they're making a build play to go into a Secure Gardener, or anything like that, and they're only playing limited resources because they're playing something like Pot of Prosperity, if you take that away from them, you're causing them issues straight away. Now, obviously, keep in mind that you want to make sure that what you're playing around and what you're sending is not going to affect you. But the whole idea behind this is that you would go, right, okay, send a target that is going to be invaluable to them. So if they're trying to OTK you, send their Borrow Sword, send their access code. Send their Appaloosa if they're trying to build a board that plays around Nibiru, get rid of their Appaloosa, and then their plans kind of crumble a little bit and they have to play straight into Nibiru. On top of that, by you sending Elder Entity Inst, what you're then going to have the ability to do is pop the card they've put onto the board and activated the effect. Now, obviously, by doing that, not only are you taking away one of their resources, but you could also be disrupting one of their other cards. So even if you don't take out the monster that they've activated and you take out another card they've left on the board, that then still provides you with additional advantage. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best card in the set as a general rule of thumb and how much money you're going to make, but again, with a card like this, is going around £4 and can be put in any ritual deck around, especially with the fan following that the Necros have got and the power ceiling that Dogmaticas have got. I think this card is definitely worth picking up a playset of, if not more, because I definitely think that there's potential to be increasing its value to at least £10 a copy, if not more, depending on what ritual support we get in the future. And again, look at this artwork. This artwork is like absolutely stunning. Then moving on to the last card. Now, the reason I've put this as not really the top card, this isn't in any particular order, but the reason this is down here is I just think it's such an incredibly good card, and that is ZS Ascended Sage. Now, off the bat, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is an okay card. But when I actually dived further into it and kind of read its effects and how it utilised itself, it becomes a very nice free kind of summon for any warrior deck. And it kind of takes the place of something like a Photon Thrasher, or something like a Junk Speeder. Now, the reason this gives it a little bit of added extra is, now, you need to control no cards, so it's quite restrictive on that aspect, but you get to special on this card from the hand. A Utopia XYZ monster that was summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. If this card is XYZ summoned, you get to add a rank up magic normal spell from your deck to your hand. So what he's allowing you to do is he's allowing you to get into rank 4s in general. But then if you choose to go into a Utopia monster, whether it be double or whether it be Utopia in general, you're then able to get yourself a rank up spell. Now, off of the back of that rank up spell, not only can you go into like Halbreed, but you can also go, of course, into the Ultimate Dragonic Utopic Ray. You've also got other Utopias that you can go into, especially keeping in mind when we get the brand new Utopia support, which some has been revealed to be in possibly King's Court, but also definitely coming in Battles of Legend. We could be getting the import of the new Utopic Future Monster, which is going to be made even easier by using a card like this. So this is a card that I would highly advise looking at, especially sitting around £7. If it drops to about £5, it's definitely a card that you could be picking up. And whether you're going to be using it yourself for Warriors, rank 4s, or anything along those lines to help a Utopia deck, or just a rank 4 deck in general, when the new Utopia support comes out, this is going to be a sought after card. It's another card that a lot of people have forgotten about, not so much swept under the rug, but kind of a card that they've gone, alright, whatever, it's not Diviner, it's not the Book of Moon, it's not the Fafnir. But I still think it has huge potential. I definitely think it has potential to rise. And I also think that it's a very good card that can be utilised in other decks should you want to take it a little bit of a spicier route. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is those 7 cards. Now, there are some more cards throughout the set that I still think are worth keeping an eye of. But these are cards that I haven't seen a lot of people mention. Or if I have seen them mention, it's mainly for the particular decks and they haven't really gone too much in depth and detail. But I certainly think that these cards are ones to be looking out for. I certainly think these cards are ones to be keeping your eyes out for, whether you are looking to invest and get more money out of it, or whether you're looking to improve one of your decks. But as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and as always, happy dueling. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.